Welcome, Gille, to the Rustenburg podcast.
Good afternoon, Rusty Bugs. We're back again with podcast number. I forgot what podcast number we are. And you see, today we've got a very special event, and there's cameras, there's lights, there's audience. There is audience. And I'm not doing this alone. Of course, I've got my dear friend, Margo. How are you? Sorry to be calling you with first name. I know Tisha's are very sensitive around that.
No, it's all good. It's all good. Otherwise known as Miss Laurie, grade R teacher.
Are the grade R's behaving? Yeah.
For the most part.
For the most part, wow. Okay, cool. Thank you for joining us. I'm excited to have this conversation with you, and I know you're jumping on this unplanned, but like I'm so excited to have this conversation with you, and for you to be co-piloting with me. So, what are we in? The 17th of March. Is this the 17th of March? Oh, sorry, the 17th of March today.
Yes.
Literally a month ago, it was Valentine's Day.
Yes.
And I can see your nails are pink. Red, pink. What color?
Pink.
Pink. Yeah. How was your Valentine's Day?
Oh, my Valentine's Day was lovely. A stay-at-home date with sushi and an alcoholic beverage.
Wow. Okay, let's not bring that in. Cool. Let's welcome our guest. He is all the way from Plant a Seed, and I think it is such an important conversation that we're going to be having today. How are you, Damien?
Yeah, doing well, thank you. Yeah, happy Monday to you guys. Thank you so much for having me here. It's good to be back at Rustenburg.
Yeah. What an interesting day to choose to have a podcast about that and all of those things on a Monday.
On a Monday. I mean, I deal with dirt and waste on a daily basis.
Yeah,
So I guess Monday is always going to be the same thing. But this is really cool, and it's super impressive to see that a school has a podcast platform and an idea sharing platform. So really happy to be here.
I mean, out of all of the things that you could have chosen, like, I mean, there's teaching. You just literally went into recycling.
Funnily enough, I studied to be a teacher, and I am still in adoration, and I share the biggest amount of respect for teachers all over the country. Yeah. You guys have a tough job, but it's a really inspiring job, and it's also why we focus on schools, just because that there really is tangible impact in the youth.
Cool. Let's get into the business of today. So tell us, what is Plant a Seed?
Plant a Seed is a company which basically, we are a waste consultancy company. We're not necessarily a recycler, but we connect and broker solutions for schools and organizations around South Africa. We're active in a few different provinces, Limpopo, Gauteng, Western Cape, and also the Northern Cape. Sure. But essentially, we connect and procure different solutions around waste management, around recycling, around responsible procurement. So essentially that a closed loop system like a school or an organization can really have more control over the resources and the waste that they create.
Yeah. Cool. Margo, do you want to jump into the next one maybe?
Why is education around recycling so important?
It's an interesting one, and we've been dealing with waste for 3 to 4 years, and initially was a lack of consumer knowledge and consumer awareness. And that's not just necessarily, starting with the youth and starting with the kids of today. I think that concept really stretches across the whole population. Waste is tricky to understand. It's not exactly made dead set clear to us from a producer's side. So the packaging isn't, super well detailed. I think that there's decent progression on that. But we notice a big gap in consumer education and awareness. Yeah. And really that's our pitch and our focus. We always say that we manage the people in the waste system. Yeah. And by managing, we start off by training, educating, and informing. Yeah. And as the classic cliche goes, starting with the youth of today really makes the biggest difference. Yeah. And immersing learners from a young age in just this mindset, mindset approach is critically important. Yeah.
I mean, I've had business people have conversations around consumers wanting plastics, consumers wanting all of those things. So it becomes quite a tricky thingy for them to say, how do I change my packaging? But what do you say to those business people and even to the larger community that says, listen, I prefer plastic straw. I prefer A and B and C instead of I don't know if you've had the cardboard straw.
Yes, the paper straw.
The paper straw. I'm like,
that goes soggy after you have a smoothie.
I know. Yeah. I guess the interesting thing with packaging is it all comes down to convenience. Packaging was designed to be a convenient takeaway thing. Also, I don't want to stand here and badmouth packaging. Packaging plays a humongous role in extending the shelf life of food. If you think about the foods that we buy from shopping markets, if it weren't packaged, the amount of food waste and just kind of food going off would be exponentially higher than it is right now.
Sure.
And that in itself is a massive problem when you think about hunger stats around the world, but also the impact of food waste in landfills. Regardless, I think there are still going to be items of packaging that we can just say no to.
Yeah.
I'm personally not the biggest fan of a straw. I'm not a fan of a paper straw because they are quite inconvenient. But I try my best to always say no to the plastic straw.
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, it's tough to tell someone who needs a straw or wants a plastic shopping bag to obviously stop. And this is where policy comes into place.
Yeah.
We can't always put
Sure.
the responsibility on the consumer.
Yeah.
At some point, government, municipalities, policies, and the people who design these materials can start playing their role.
Sure, I'm thinking about regulations and all of that. But let's speak about it from the ground point of view. And Margot, I think you'd best know. A 6-year-old, how do you teach a 6-year-old and educate them about recycling and all of those things? Because I see them just having fun and they want to just enjoy life. I don't know if that's different. I've seen great hours. It seems like it's a party from 8 a.m. to 12.
I mean, now that the bins are around the school, they obviously can't read what's on the bins itself, but they are associating the different recycling materials according to the colors. But I think their knowledge of recycling is actually starting at home, and I think that's actually such a good conversation as parents to be having with your child and really get them excited about recycling. And I know that some kids are like, they really know when that recycling truck is coming to their house, and, you know, cleaning of milk cartons and yogurt cartons. And, you know, sometimes, I mean, now when in the classroom, if someone's throwing plastic in the normal bin, they like come and say, sorry, so-and-so is throwing plastic in this bin, and all those kind of things. So there's already a foundation when it comes to recycling in the grade R space, or even, you know, grade 1, 2, and 3. But I think it's very cool that, you know, kids are so aware of recycling at such a young age, and the importance of recycling, given, you know, the state of where pollution is now on Earth. So I think they want to save the animals and the turtles, and you know, they feel deeply for the animals.
Yeah. Cool. Do you want to add into that?
What I will say is, having, you know, my main role in Plant the Seed is kind of training, education, and kind of through the years, I think I've ended up talking to just over 30,000 learners of various ages. What I will always say is that I have the biggest respect and admiration for grade R, 1, 2, and 3 teachers. You guys are dealing with an absolute storm over there, but it's also, it definitely offers the most inspiring opportunity. Because that when the light bulb eventually clicks for the 6 and 7-year-old, the whole trick is making it click in the first place. But when it does click, honestly, I've never seen learners buy into it more than the little ones do. So really, just respect to the teachers, number one. But also, it's really inspiring to be around the younger learners because they embrace it wholeheartedly.
Yeah. I also think what you spoke about, like from education from at home and what they see their parents do, you know, they then mimic that. I want to speak about the stats, the numbers. I mean, you came here and you did a presentation, and now I was left like, yo, the numbers are just so scary. What are the numbers looking like globally in terms of landfills, locally as well? How big is this problem that we're talking about right now?
Stats and figures around waste are immensely fascinating. I'm not going to go down the academic wormhole, because if you think about just how you obtain the stats in the first place, it's a really tricky thing. How much waste is thrown away, where it's weighed. There's a lot of kind of loose points in that chain. A stat which really drives home kind of the plastic situation is if you took all the animals on planet Earth, all of them, I'm speaking marine animals, flying animals, land-based animals, every single piece of biodiversity on planet Earth, and you put it on a scale, you get 4 gigatons, which is 4 billion tons. If you took every single piece of plastic which humans have produced, and plastic is only 70, 80 years old as a material, you get double that. You get 8 gigatons, 8 billion tons of plastic, which is still circulating on planet Earth. So I think it tells the story of overconsumption, overproduction, and over-reliance on convenient packaging. Another stat which maybe localizes it a little bit better, South Africa, Mzansi, our beautiful country, we have 826 landfills. I think illegal dumping is a massive problem in South Africa. So these 826 landfills are not the illegal dumping sites. This is the legal dumping sites. And most of them, if we had to contextualize it one more step, the city of Cape Town, which is, a top performing city in South Africa, the two landfills which we rely on, the Coastal Park landfill has got 2 years of space left before they shut it down completely. And the Vissershoek one towards Melkbos has 6 to 8 years left. So essentially we're on a ticking time bomb when it comes to this. And the problem is not landfills. You need landfills. The problem is what we've been sending to landfills. And to identify recyclables and food waste as problematic to be sending to landfills is a key step. Because we'd be saving so much space in landfills.
Sure. Cool. Maybe I want to dive into now having the conversation around the fact that Rustenburg Girls Junior, grade R to grade 7, they consume different food from morning until late. We've got different colored beans. What is recyclable and what's not?
If you had to look, and I think something I always encourage people to do is to do a quick little personal waste audit. For 24 hours, what do you consume on a weekday, on a weekend? Quickly jot those things down, map the packaging, and just see what you've consumed as a human. Identify where and how you got those pieces of packaging. Identify, what you could potentially change. But across the board, and I'm not going to give a definitive stat here, but about 60% of the packaging that we consume is recyclable. If you think about paper and cardboard, a huge array of those are recyclable. Most plastics are recyclable. I just want to quickly speak about, stuff that makes plastic non-recyclable. Is if you're leaving food waste, if you're leaving very oily substances in the plastic, it can render a whole batch of plastic non-recyclable further down the line. But generally, most of our plastics that we consume and purchase from supermarkets and stuff are recyclable. I do just want to mention maybe some of the villains of the waste world: chip packets, lollipop sticks, fishing line, and unfortunately right now a lot of the compostable plastics which say that they're compostable or biodegradable, they play a hugely bad role on the recycling industry. Unfortunately, we don't actually have many of the processing facilities to actually process the compostable plastics. And it's kind of confusing the whole system. So keep an eye out for those, but really the chip packets and the sweet wrappers, if you think about the scale of them and how many they are and the fact that they can't be recycled, it's a problem. But there are solutions coming about that look at ways of processing those materials and turning them into something else.
Cool. Margot, do you want to jump into the next one maybe?
Just in terms of where we are with pollution and in our reality that we're facing, unfortunately, where on the ground globally and internationally, where do you think, how can we actually fix the issue that we are facing? I know that schools like Rustenburg, we are trying our best to recycle, but I mean, is it actually achievable to recycle and to actually make a difference? Because I mean, I've seen some videos about there's efforts on the ocean. I don't know where that project is. It's quite a cool project. It's almost like that net.
Oh, is this the Great Ocean Cleanup?
Yes, that one. It's very, very interesting to see. But is those kind of projects actually making a significant difference?
It's really tricky to say. What I will just quickly to answer your question, the Great Ocean Cleanup is making a difference. I mean, just the amount that they do extract from the ocean is quite considerable. One thing, when we're speaking about pollution, the narrative always goes to save the environment, save the animals, save the sea turtles. Something which maybe drives the message home a little bit better for me is, all these different types of pollution, whether it be air, water, or waste pollution, has an impact on us. I read a really scary fact the other day. On average, humans consume 1 credit card's worth of microplastics every month.
Oh no, that's wild.
So we are eating 5 grams of plastic in the foods, in the water we drink, in the air we breathe. So the microplastic kind of problem that extends and the depth of the pollution is quite depressing, I must admit. And I try not harp on too much about the problems. What I will say is that humans have always, we're very good at fixing the problem right at the end when it gets really, really, really bad. And, with solutions like the Great Garbage Cleanup and with new technology advancing, I do believe there is hope. What I will say, though, is that I unfortunately think that the extent of our pollution, some of it is a little bit kind of irreversible.
Too far gone.
Sure.
I mean, this is actually just a question. I often feel really bad because I wear daily contacts, and I know that's obviously a form of microplastic at the end of the day. They do crumple down into these hard little things once they dry out. But what are ways that I can, how can I actually attempt to recycle something like that? Because I mean, without my contacts, I can't see. So I do have specs, obviously, but I mean, my day-to-day, I wear contacts, and that's the one area in my recycle journey that I feel so bad about, because I'm like, I don't know how to recycle this.
Yeah, I think the bottom line is, unfortunately, there are going to be pieces of waste, materials or pieces of packaging that just can't be recycled or reprocessed right now. You obviously need to see, so I don't encourage you to stop using those. Obviously, when it comes to a lot of health kind of things that we use, or any kind of any medical stuff, a lot of that isn't recyclable and can be managed in a certain way. A lot of it is kind of incinerated. But look, bottom line is, we can't win every single battle. And I think that there are going to be, these little losses, like contacts or a packet of chips here and there. I think the bottom line is, we can easily be discouraged by the situation, very easily be discouraged by the situation. But the classic cliche of small matters and small little steps do make a big difference. I think that sings home and quite true when it comes to waste. As I say, most of the packaging that you'd probably consume is recycled and is recyclable.
Sure.
So there are going to be some things that we can't just fix immediately. So yeah.
I'm interested to know, how do we make recyclable cool, like a TikToker? You know what I mean? A TikTok dance challenge, or a challenge of recycling for primary school kids.
Yeah. It's basically been the question we've been asking in Plant the Seed since day one, is how do we make waste appealing? How do we make it cool? How do we make it tangible and exciting? We've tried to do that with schools by, sharing waste reports, stats, and data. I always use the analogy of, in a sports game, there's a scoreboard. You know that you're doing well, or you know that you can improve. and the stats and the reporting and kind of those metrics really drive some behavior change.
Yeah.
We've also tried to expand kind of our educational reach through some educational videos, which just make this initially understandable to the learner, to the teacher.
Yeah.
But how it comes into making it fun and engaging, we've just tried to instill it in the fixture of the school culture and school kind of functioning. But as you guys mentioned it earlier, the impact and the role that parents and the home environment plays is really critical when it comes to primary school kids.
Yeah, and I mean, after school, they go back home.
Yeah.
And, I think the working together between the schools and the parents is quite very key.
Absolutely.
Cool. I think last but not least, any closing remarks, message that you'd want to say to parents, to the girls, to anyone listening?
What I will say is that anything with waste requires a mindset shift. And as soon as we just draw, there's a concept called the circular economy. And I'm quickly to speak about what's the opposite of a circular economy. It's the linear economy. And that's what's resulted in the amount of pollution and waste which we have in the world. We take natural resources, we make products, and we dispose them to landfill. What the circular economy tries to instill, and parents, learners, I do encourage you to try to familiarize yourself with this. It's reinventing the way we economically produce these materials, how it's circulated, and how we can reduce waste. Yeah. I think as soon as you remember that every piece of clothing, every piece of packaging, everything we've made comes from a natural resource, then you see things in the circle. And I think that starts instilling a little bit more of a approach to reduce or reuse or recycle or circulate products. Yeah. But also what I will say is stay positive with the situation. I know there's a lot of negative and harrowing stats and figures out there. Stay positive and focus on the small little differences, because they do make a difference at the end of the day.
Sure.
I think a really good thing that we could maybe implement, Apelo, is in the newsletter, the My School card, you can often say how much we've raised, and it kind of motivates parents to keep swiping for that My School card. I think maybe if we have something like that in our assemblies, that kind of initiative to be like, this month we managed to recycle this many kilograms of recycled waste, or some kind of cool initiative to really get this recycling initiative going and exciting for the kids. I do think that's potentially, and advertise it on the newsletters the same way.
Sure.
I think that could be quite a a fun thing to get going.
Cool. You're talking to the perfect guy, the marketing guy. Oh my God. I got that. Cool, Margot. How was your first podcast?
Well, this is actually lots of fun. I mean, back when I was in school, it was either teaching or radio presenting. I mean, I did have big dreams too. I love these kind of conversations. I think it's really, really cool. And I think if I wasn't in teaching, this could be something I would love to do. And I do love social media and all of those, and the power that social media has to share messages, both good and bad. Thanks for having me.
A huge thank you. Let me also thank my audience. I hope you girls will be doing some recycling. Did anyone learn anything today? Okay, I'm seeing hands, but remember, no one sees you. Did anyone learn anything today? Okay, lovely. Do you want me to ask you what did you learn, or should I not? Okay, because I'm not a class teacher, I'm not going to do that. Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, thank you very much. Yet another great podcast that we've had today as Rustenburg Girls Junior. Whew, yeah, what a lot to take from this. And thank you very much for coming through and taking us through this whole exercise. I mean, there's a lot of learning, even behind the mics, and I hope for the teachers, for the girls, and we also hoping that this does not end in this building. It goes into society, into our communities, so that we're not only spreading the word, but we get to be doers of what you spoke about. Absolutely. Cool. Until next time, there we have it. Rusty Buck.